The 2021 Diplomacy Broadcast Network Invitational season has reached its halfway point. 129 contenders have joined the fray, all vying for an invite to Diplomacy's big dance. As auto bids continue to roll in, the number of available seats has started to dwindle. Who can fight their way from the bubble into the top 28, and who will be left to ask what more they could have done? Turn off your phone and put down your baby, because this is the DBNI Countdown Show.
Welcome to the DBNI Countdown Show. We're broadcasting remote this episode to you from the city of Lost Wages, the city of neon lights, the marriage capital of the world. That's right, we're in Vegas, baby. I'm your newly married and slightly less wealthy host, Bryan Pravel. I'm joined by my co-host, the official DBN master of puns and countdown host, most likely to have his name in lights, Zachary Moore. Zach, can you believe we are halfway through the 2021 season already?
Bryan, I cannot believe we're already there, but I can believe that you're in Las Vegas because you look and sound like a man who's on day 8 of a Vegas bender. Listen, the Tour of Britain and VDL have been looming over the current standings all year long. There's a lot of players in this top 28 with kind of ho-hum scores from the first five or six events. Once those VDL and Tour of Britain shoots drop, it'll be a much stiffer race. So in a sense, we're nearing the conclusion, but in a sense, we've barely begun, Bryan.
Yeah, and Zach, I continue to be impressed by the quality of play, particularly among the extended deadline community. The game's the same, but face-to-face and virtual face-to-face do require slightly different skill sets than many in the extended deadline community may have been used to. Took a little bit of time, but the learning period is officially over. The era of the extended deadline player has officially begun. Over half of the DBNI top 10 consists of players whose background was primarily from the extended deadline world, the majority of which are from the web diplomacy platform.
Bryan, it's been the year of web diplomacy, and it's been the year of these full press players really asserting their dominance over the field. It's also been a year of diversity, not just from the platform and background in diplomacy terms, but we also have a truly global top 28, and we've had it all year. Players from Europe, players who don't even speak very much English, dominating the French language competition, getting into the top 28. And it's all made for a fantastic pot of players that we're watching in this countdown show.
Well, Zach, let's take a look at those fortunate few who have earned an automatic invitation to the Diplomacy's final fiesta.
Now, Bryan, anyone who wins a qualifying event, as you know, and plays in at least 2 virtual face-to-face games in the 2021 season will receive an automatic invitation. So far, there have been 6 DBNI events in the 2021 season, 4 of which have been large enough to qualify for that automatic bid. And on screen right now, we see the winners of automatic qualifying face-to-face and virtual face-to-face tournaments, proving that she is one of diplomacy's best. If you didn't already know, and if you didn't, where have you been? Saren Kwok is the newest addition, winning the automatic invite for her top board performance in the Summer Classic, the second largest DBNI event to date, and what a top board performance it was. She was pulling all the strings. Farron Jane, a known commodity at this point, won the other DBNI event from this month, the Boston Massacre. This earned her a large number of DBNI points, but the event was not large enough for an automatic invitation, which means for now at least, she is still competing for her spot in the top 28 the old-fashioned way, Bryan.
Yeah, and we'll see more about that in a minute when we get to the standings. For now, let's take a look at our extended deadline invitations. The Nexus Season 6 finale is underway. That should wrap up any time now. The winner of that event will likely be our first extended deadline player to receive an automatic invitation. And in league play, as previously mentioned, the French Diplomacy League, Tour of Britain, and Virtual Diplomacy Leagues have all automatically qualified based on quantity of players and boards. The winners of all of those events will receive an automatic invitation. The Virtual Diplomacy League will actually have 2 players automatically qualify. The champion and the regular season winners will each receive an invitation.
Bryan, what do you say we get to those standings? Let's dig in.
Sure thing, Zach. Let's start with first place, as one does, our top 7. Some know him as the winner of the 2021 DixieCon tournament. Others know him as a frequent analyst on DBN. Still others know him as the newest member of the editorial staff for the Diplomacy Briefing. All we know is that his first place finish at DixieCon and second place finish at the Summer Classic made Karthik Konath your new DBNI leader.
And in second place, certain analysts on this network called her an underdog, but better analysts on this network always knew that Saren Kwok has always been a DAWG dog, and she broke through her leash during the Summer Classic top board, biting into the ego of Karthik Konath, your leader, on her way to an auto bid.
Zach, what do you do when you enter the season as the top-ranked player in the DBNI and have had as much criticism from the diplomacy media as Jason Massbaum? You put your head down, keep a low profile, and get back to work. Jason's played in every single English-language DBNI event this season, and despite the massive target on his back, managed to play damage control and improved his overall score. He may have dropped 2 places, but his hustle has earned my respect.
Well, Ed Sullivan keeps on stacking up points and is a shoe-in for the tournament, whether or not he locks up an auto bid by season's end. He's faced with the same question plaguing Longhorn fans everywhere. Can he keep it up on the big stage against big-time opponents?
Darrell 7 is a world-renowned player in the face-to-face hobby and by all accounts deserving of his 5th place standing in the DBNI. However, depending on a single score may be the sin of sloth, and 7 could find his head in the box when the curtain is called on this thriller of a season.
And Katie Gray finally showed an ounce of mortality with a mid-table finish at the Summer Classic, but the web diplomacy phenom has made the transition to virtual face-to-face look easy and is a serious contender for Rookie of the Year.
This guy is no small fry. Matthew Krill has been one of the most consistent performers on the DBNI circuit. With just 2 events and 63.8 points, Matt still has a large upside. Krill crew, start clearing your February schedule with 1 more good score. Matt is a lock to make an appearance in the next DBN Invitational.
Well, swinging on now over to places 8 through 14. It doesn't get any friendlier. After sitting out the first 4 tournaments of the season, Baron Jane has proved immune to rust, picking up right where she left off with a stellar performance at Boston Massacre and another one at the Summer Classic. Baron Jane is a solo threat every time she sits down at a board.
The web dip cadre has been dominating the DBNI circuit this season thanks in part to Makarlis Kamaritis. His 3rd place finish at the VWDC has moved him up 14 places into 9th. Word of advice to my fellow commentators, practice saying this name. You're going to be using it a lot this season.
Johnny Gillum has experienced some growing pains after his podium finish at DixieCon, but the rookie's potential is unmistakable, and if he can get hot for 1 more weekend by the end of the year, he will more than likely find himself in diplomacy's big dance.
Emmanuel Du Ponteviso's 2nd place finish at the CDFB remains impressive, but will not be enough to remain in DBNI top 28. We're keeping our fingers crossed that Emmanuel will be able to find another event to play in to give him a shot at holding on to his 11th place position.
And slow and steady is winning the race for Morgante Pell, who's riding a string of solid, if unspectacular, finishes to the 12th spot. Perhaps the biggest testament to his under-the-radar approach, Morgante currently sits in 2nd place in the Virtual Diplomacy League, despite holding only the 9th biggest board top of the season.
With the 4th place finish at Whipping, 8th place finish at Dixie, and a 13th place finish at the Summer Classic, Wes Ketchum has been a consistent threat in every event he's competed in. He'll need another top 7 score, though, if he wants us to find out how the West was won.
Well, nobody has played more tournaments without an elimination than Evan Sweetheart, who has waded through 5 events without being knocked off a single board. As the saying goes, you can't win if you're dead.
On to positions 15 to 21, starting with Tim Crosby, who improved his overall score with an 11th place finish at the Boston Massacre, but it wasn't large enough of an improvement to keep him from moving down 3 places on the leaderboard into 15th. My advice to Tim, keep playing, and remember the words of Otis S. Johnson, if you believe in a cross, be willing to take a hit.
And Sasha Massacar continues his diplomacy vacation and therefore his slide down the rankings. He put up a strong score in the French language CDF event, but if he doesn't play another one soon, he's going to be French toast, Bryan.
Speaking of toast, Tommy Tupperware Anderson kept his DBNI score from spoiling with a top 7 finish at his home tournament, the Boston Massacre. But even this wasn't enough to prevent his scores from going a little stale. Tommy dropped 3 places into 17th, and without another big finish to freshen things up a bit, is in danger of his entire season going bad.
And one of diplomacy's most interesting characters, John Jameson, started hot at Whipping, but he's had trouble gaining traction in 4 events since. Listen, as any Scotsman knows, if you just keep taking shots, something good is bound to happen.
Reuben Sanchez is another French League player who will need another score to remain in the DBNI top 28. This month he didn't play and dropped 3 places into 19.
And Andrei Gribikov produced an identical DBNI score, exactly 10.3 points in both of the tournaments he's played this season. That's a total of 20.6 points, and he's in 20th place after playing 6 boards. Connect the dots, people. Something is going on here.
Well, Hunter Catcher filled his social media feed with photos of international travels and diplomacy players he met from around the world. Life's greatest reward may be the friends you make along the way, but you need points to keep up in the DBNI top 8. Hunter took this month off, dropped 3 places to 18th, and without another good score is at risk of falling out of the top 28.
And on to our final list of players above the cut line. Here are 22 through 28, starting with Maddie Schaefer, who has survived exactly half the boards he's played on in this tournament season. And listen, folks, I'm not trying to jump to conclusions, but the last lawyer who left survival up to a coin flip was literally named Two-Face, so you decide whether you can trust him.
Christophe Borgia did not play this month and dropped 4 places into 23rd.
And in 2020, Maxim Popov was the best country king, but 2021 has brought a sophomore slump to the young prodigy. With half the season in front of us, expect him to bounce back before New Year's Day.
Remember the scene in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade where Indy narrowly avoids drowning and dismemberment while piloting a boat down the Venice Grand Canal? That's a perfect metaphor for speedboat veteran Sabi Ahuja, who punched, kicked, dodged, and clawed their way up 6 places into 25th place. Sabi will need another good score to remain in the top 28, but for this week at least, they can enjoy their view in the DBNI top 28.
JJ Raymond is the highest ranked player in these standings without a board top on his record, but he's well positioned to make a run in the Virtual Diplomacy League, where he sits just 1 good result outside of contention.
Liam Stokes' top 10 finish at the Summer Classic bumped him up 23 places from 50th into 23rd. Additionally, he only has 2 scores and was a top 7 finisher at last year's Weaselmoot. Folks, keep your eye on Stokes. Moot is right around the corner, and a repeat performance from Liam would help him solidify his place in the top 28.
And rounding off our list, Russ Dennis sneaks into the top 28 with a solid result at the Summer Classic, and he's the caliber of player who can shoot up into the top 10 at any moment. If only he can find enough time in his busy schedule of making other people do all the work for Diplomacy Briefing, Brian.
Well, in 29th to 35th place, we see the players who just narrowly missed the cut. We've got Candace Rocher, Noam Brown, Ben Kelman, Stephen Hogue, Claus De Graf, Christopher Ward, and Oliver Prejean. All of these players have, or many of them have less than 3 scores, so just one more event would likely improve their overall results and possibly be enough to put them into the top 28. And it won't take a huge increase to jump from this position. Places 28 to 35 are separated by less than 5 points.
And up on the screen now, 36 through 42, Robert Shoup, Andrew Goff, Jonathan Frank, David Graff, Luca Pazzaglia, Andre Janeco, and Vincent Roulet. Brian, that is about as scary a 36 through 42 as I can remember seeing. Andrew Goff, good enough to get profiled in Popular Mechanics magazine. You don't want him staring you down in the DBNI standings. Robert Shoup plays a lot of games, plays well. Jonathan Frank, frequent YouTube commenter of DBN broadcast. DBN broadcast is a great way to learn the game. He's shoveling in information. So he may be down 11 spots, but he's a veteran player who can shoot up if he gets playing. Yeah,
I think this list just further illustrates how dangerous and how improved the quality of play is this season. Well, Zach, winning hard, but staying there is much harder. Let's take a look at last year's Super 7 and find out where they are now.
All right, Brian. Well, starting off our Super 7 watch is Mr. Super 7 himself, Matthew Krill, who was the first one out on the DBNI top board last year. So he was Mr. 7 in that event as well. 8th place, Farron Jane. Listen, she just flew into 8th, and she will not be going down from here. It's only up for Farron Jane. 20th place, Andrei Gribakov. An interesting player. He's shown a lot of flashes this season, but it hasn't been all easy going, as you can see. 20th place, Russ Dennis, just getting started, slipping into the top 28. We talked about him. We'll be talking about him for months to come. Nicolas Sahuge is a guy who's really 47th, I think, just on account of not playing as many events. And the same goes for Peter McNamara. Now, Peter is a frequent VDL player, so you can expect him to make that late push. But for now, he's keeping a low profile just like he does on the board. And lastly, Marcus Zylstra, too busy writing 10,000-word blogs as usual to actually play Diplomacy. So he gets a scratch. Who knows if we'll see from him before the season ends.
It's time for our favorite segment, DBNI Bubble Watch. Let's take a look at our predictions from July and see how we did.
Well, Brian, my first prediction, Christopher Ward shot up from 38th place to 34th, not in the top 28 yet, but by virtue of him ascending up the standings, I will take a point if I may. Second prediction, Corey Neslin, 43.51. That one did not go my way. How much do I have to pay Corey to play in an event? Because if she does, she'll win. But I get that point back for a positive net total of 1 from Roni Mordvinov, going up from 45th to 43rd, just eking his way up. We'll be talking about him more later in the broadcast, Brian. But he is just in striking distance.
That earned you 1 point, Zach. Let's see how I did. First up, I predicted Ben Kelman, moved from 32nd to 31. It wasn't a big move, but it's enough to earn me a point. Thank you, Ben. My next pick was Yanuko, who unfortunately I don't believe played, definitely did not go up in the standings, canceling that point from Ben out. So it all comes down to this. Russ Dennis. My cheat from last month paid off. Russ made it into the top 28, albeit just barely, earning me a total of 3 points, meaning I win this month's round. So we'll find out who does better with our August pick. Take it away, Zach.
All right, my first August pick is Christopher Ward. Listen, I picked him last month. He did well for me. I'm picking him again. Chris Ward, I'm saying it right now, he is this year's Tommy Anderson, nickname and all. We don't even have to give him a nickname. He's got his own. And he's a guy that's just too lovable not to qualify. If you're throwing dots to somebody on a board, you're throwing them to Ward. That's what we always say.
Zach, I like that a lot. He has played 5 DBNI qualifying events this season, 12 boards, and just by sheer numbers, odds are some points will be coming his way. Good pick.
Secondly, up on the screen, Claus De Graf. This is almost the opposite direction as Christopher Ward. He's a long-time hobby stalwart. He can turn it on whenever he wants. We all know the quality and the caliber of play from Claus De Graf. He's not a guy that slides down on any list. He moves up.
I love Klaus as a player. I am a little concerned with the European time zone. He may not have enough opportunities to qualify. I think this one's a gamble, Zach, and I'm going to disagree with you on this pick.
Disagree you may. I will take another holdover from last month. I'm doubling down on Roni Mordvinov. He is a young guy. He's an active gunboater. You know, playing in those gunboat games, you get reps in. The game kind of starts to slow down for you more and more when you're in the live virtual face-to-face atmosphere. I think he's a guy that's going to keep on getting stronger. We saw him improve last month. I think he improves again this month.
Oh, Zach, I agreed with you last time. I'll agree with you again. I think that Roni's got the chops. He just needs the reps. He's got a pretty high survival rate. He's only been eliminated in about a third of his games. That always bodes well, but he's yet to top a single game. He's going to need to top some boards if he's going to get you some points. For me, my pick, I'm sticking with Ben Kelman. I've been on Team Ben since the very first Bubble Watch. He has never done me wrong. Ben, just keep on getting points and getting me points. Appreciate it. I am also sticking with my man, Yanuko.
Hold on a second, Brian. You get to disagree with me. I don't get to disagree with you.
I'm rushing by. Why would you disagree with Ben Kelman?
I think you know exactly why. That's why you tried to cut me off. Listen, I disagreed with you last month, and I disagree with you this month again. I think Ben Kelman is just the victim of terrible luck, and you can't teach good luck, Brian. You can't learn good luck. He was unlucky last year, missing the VDL top board by exactly 1 point. Until he can find a horseshoe and show it to me, I'm not trusting him to make it into any top 28s.
All right, well, he's really going to love this one then. Yanuko, I'm sticking with him. Maybe from Portugal, time zones may be difficult, but I've seen the talent. I think he's got a shot.
Brian, I think I was skeptical on this pick last month, but he won me over with his interview as the spotlight player on League Night last month. Andre has been great in VDL. He's shown a lot of skill. I think he's got the demeanor and the mindset of a champion diplomacy player. He's just too low on the list. He's lower than he should be. He's gonna rise. You're absolutely right.
Well, Zach, I'm glad you're finally coming to see the light. We'll see if you agree with my final pick. I'm dropping all the way down to 54th place, and I'm picking Hal Schild. Hal only has 2 scores, so any points he adds will add to his combined score overall. But what I really like about Hal is that he's played 4 boards of diplomacy this season, and he's only been eliminated once. Players who stick around have more chances for a top. Tops lead to big points and higher DBNI rankings. Stop right there, Zach. Don't argue with me when I use statistics. You know better.
Listen, Bryan, when you use statistics, I throw them out the window. I love this pick because I love Hal Shield. He's going to be on Deadline. Check it out this Friday with David Hood. But it's a hard disagree. I don't need your numbers. I need the intangibles. Hal Shield is a lovely guy to play with on a board. I have a great time with him. And one of the reasons I have a great time with him is because he doesn't bring out those teeth, that killer instinct to bite me when I take an eye off him. I don't see him as a guy who's going to make a move late in the season.
Well, we'll find out how we do in our next episode of the DBNI Countdown Show. But first up, we're introducing a new segment. I am honored to introduce the Eddie Berson Rookie of the Year Award. Raising awareness about the game of diplomacy and growing the hobby are the primary goals of the Diplomacy Broadcast Network. No one has achieved these goals more than Eddie Berson. I know that personally, I would not be a member of the community without Eddie's influence, and I know many who would say the exact same thing. So for this reason, we've named the Rookie of the Year trophy after Eddie Berson, and at the end of this season, we will award this trophy to the first season player who has the highest score at the end of the season.
And halfway through this season, Katie Gray appears to be a strong front runner for the Eddie Berson Rookie of the Year award, but Johnny Gillum and Sasha Massacar are right behind her in striking distance. They both just need one good score to take the lead. Behind them, Sabia Huja, Candice Roche, Noam Brown, Christopher Ward are all talented players, but a bigger gap. It's really a strong top three that are jostling for that spot.
Yeah, Zach, I will also point out, though, we saw strong second half rookie performances from the likes of Fair and Jane last season. So we'll be watching this award closely after during each upcoming episode of the Countdown Show. So, Zach, before we wrap up this show, let's take a quick look at some upcoming DBNI events. We won't know if the events will qualify for an automatic invitation until we see the number of players and boards, but all of these events will count towards a player's overall DBNI score.
Yeah, coming onto the screen now, Nexus Season 6, the final is ongoing. You can get play-by-play commentary on that from the Diplomats YouTube channel. Winner of that gets the extended deadline auto bid to DBNI, big event. And in August, we have the Virtual Diplomacy League's August games coming up on August 22nd. The Virtual Diplomacy League is the premier Virtual Diplomacy League and awards 2 automatic invitations to the DBNI. September 4th, my favorite tournament, Weasel Moot, is just around the corner. Highly encourage you to sign up and support the Midwest. It's been one of the long-running great tournaments in the hobby, and it's virtual again. So Saturday, September 4th, get in there. And the Tour of Britain is another league that we have going on. Their next games are September 11th and 12th. Competition has been a lot of fun to watch. You can watch the recaps of those games coming up on league night. Play in those games. They're a lot of fun. Bryan, we have not done this in the history of the show. Liberty Cup in person in October 9th, 2021 at the Doubletree, Philadelphia. If you've been pining to play some face-to-face diplomacy, this is going to be your first shot at a face-to-face tournament in North America since the virtual face-to-face era started. And speaking of face-to-face, this is the big one, folks. Carnage, November 6th to 8th. You should definitely check it out. If you can only do one face-to-face event this year, I recommend this one. Dave puts on a wonderful show, a wonderful event. It's a lot of fun, and I think the diplomacy hobby is going to be coming out in force. Excited to get together and play some face-to-face diplomacy again. Go meet those folks. Say hey. And Zach, that just about wraps things up for us.
What are your thoughts about the season so far? What do you be watching for the rest of the season?
Bryan, we've talked about it a little bit earlier in the show, but just the rate at which extended deadline players are coming into virtual face-to-face and vice versa and playing excellent and making a splash. In fact, we've seen a lot of collaboration between extended deadline, virtual face-to-face, and even the variant communities. And so I just want to give a little plug to those watching this show is if you're not on the Nexus Discord server, that's where you're going to find a lot of speedboat, 5-minute deadline gunboat is what that is. And that's where you're going to find an upcoming Cold War variant tournament where registration opens on August 10th. And variants like these are great for sharpening your tactical skills on the board, for thinking through different scenarios. They're also great just for getting to know the community. And it's a great community to know. So I strongly encourage our viewers to check out the Nexus server and check out those events.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Zach. It's non-DBNI qualifying games, but they're a lot of fun, big part of the community, and you're missing out if you're not taking part. And Zach, that pretty much wraps up our show. I'd like to thank everyone for watching. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, please contact us on Twitter at DiploBN. You can email us at info@diplobn.com. Or you can just add something in the comments and we'll try to reply. If you enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe. Put in some comments, see a prediction of your own, see if you can play along with Zach and I about who will be making it into the next edition of the Countdown Top 28. And your interaction will help YouTube prioritize these videos, helps our channel with its goal of sharing the game of diplomacy we love so much to a wider audience of players. As always, we hope to see you on the diplomacy board soon. Thanks for watching.